All right, welcome everybody. Thanks for being here. I'm Katie. I'm the coordinator of our program. We're here with our speaker, Faizan Haq. And without further ado, I'm going to introduce him to you, which rhymes. All right, Faizan has been teaching intercultural, international, and organizational communication at the State University of New York College at Buffalo, aka Buffalo State, since 2004. He is also known as a media analyst and has been asked to render his opinions for various media networks on diverse international issues, including ABC, NBC, and Voice of America. He is the founder and publisher of WesternNewYorkMuslims.org. He's an active member of the Western New York Interfaith community, and he's an alumnus of Leadership Buffalo. And he's here. Faizan, thank you. The floor is yours.
Thank you so much. First of all, I want to welcome everybody to University Express. It's an honor to be with you all. Thank you, Katie, for solving my problems because I was panicking, and I was wondering, and I consider myself an IT guy, so that's even worse. But thank you so much. So I just wanted to first speak about the title, which is Biden Administration and New South Asian and Middle Eastern Realities. So in that, I want to share my screen where I have the map of that area. I want to start from there. So I am going to share my screen, and the screen I'm going to share. Which one am I going to share screen? Okay, there it is. Share. Can everybody see the map?
Yep.
Excellent. Thank you so much. So I'm passing my IT test with Katie here. So so I wanted to many times when I start my conversation in my classes, first of all I do exactly the same thing. I pull up the map because map in itself is the greatest presentation one can have because it shows a lot of realities and it actually unfolds much history that there is behind that. So and so here is the map of the world as we know it. So here we are, United States of America. We are in New York, right in this corner, right next to the Great Lakes. And this is where is China. So China is here. And we are over here. And there was a time when we were heavily dependent on this area for our oil supply. So the oil supplies used to come from, here we have Iraq, this tiny little thing is Kuwait, we have Oman, United Arab Emirates, and Iran. So the oil will travel from here and over here, and then it will go through here to America or supply to whole Europe. And then they thought that we should run some pipelines, and certain pipelines were run to make sure the supply to the Western world and America will continue. Then in 1970s, when we joined with China to work with to actually create a bloc against the Soviet Union or former Soviet Union, China's energy needs grew as well. Then China needed the oil, so China got, at that time, China's relationship with the USSR were not that great. However, China needed oil, so the oil will travel from here, this area, and goes all the way to, so it will go all the way to travel around this area, and then it will go to China. So China, as you can see from Middle East, is totally cut off from here. But China was a growing economy. It needed a lot of energy and oil. So after 1989, when the Soviet Union dismantled, and of course, due to their war in Afghanistan, we had a lot to do with that, and Afghanistan and Pakistan has a lot to do with that. Then China created a pipeline with Russia, and they started working on this. But it was not enough because most of the development of Chinese were happening over here. So they needed a closer access to Middle Eastern oil. And that is why they created a one road concept of China and a one belt or one road, one belt road, they call it, or the old Silk Route. The many terms has been given to them, and in which their most important route was given from China through Pakistan called CPAC, they're called China-Pakistan Economic Corridor. So with that, China was cutting the supply of the oil that took weeks, 2 to 3 weeks, to actually 24 to 48 hours, or to at least 1 week. So that means a road that will go through Pakistan to China and supply the oil directly to China. And then the pipelines from Iran or through Afghanistan to China. So the Chinese energy needs could be met. Another thing happened during this time is another emerging economy came online, that was India. So India's energy needs also grew exponentially. When they grew, and they had to rely on this oil as well. So now, what is our interest as Americans in there? So America, as it was making itself independent of the energy needs of Saudi Arabia and Iran and Kuwait and United Arab Emirates, it developed its own resources. So must have heard of this pipeline that's going to come through Canada to United States. So we started getting our oil through Canada. United States itself made itself very self-sufficient, and they also try to depend on the Central America and South America for oil supplies. So energy needs were a major component of this strategy that we had in the Middle East. But as our dependence on the Middle Eastern oil lessened, so did our strategy changed. In that strategy, now our strategy was that, okay, what we will do is that as much as that we are happy that people are getting their energy needs, but do we want the energy needs of China, India, to reach a place where they devastate the rest of the world? Number one. Number two, can we slow down because they are catching up to our powers? And number three is that in the long run, what will be its impact on the safety or security or the long-term interest of the United States of America? Because this region, as we know, not only known for oil, but a lot of minerals, a lot of raw material. For example, in Afghanistan, there's lithium, very, very rare metal. And then we have then we have our Western Europe, which is our allies, that how the impact will be of that. So it required a new thinking or new ways of looking at the world. So in that, United States of America decided that we are going to create a new alliance, and so did China. So China went on creating a great influence in the south, in these areas. For example, there I'm zooming it in. So here's China. So they developed great infrastructure deals in Uzbekistan, Kyrgyzstan, Turkmenistan, Tajikistan, and Afghanistan. They're recently getting into this, and everybody might be wondering why everything is named at Stan over here. Is Pakistan, Afghanistan, Tajikistan, Kyrgyzstan, Uzbekistan, Turkmenistan. So Stan is basically a Persian expression that means land. It's the same way as somebody would wonder why everything in Europe or in England is named England, Scotland, Ireland, this land, that land. So Stan is the kind of an equivalent of that in Persian. So Stan means land, the land of the Kurds, the land of the Uzbeks, the land of the Turks, the land of Afghanis, and the land of Pakistanis. So this is how the land of the that ethnic group. So this is how this word Stan is a very important uh, you know word in the vocabulary of people in Central Asia. So when China did, another thing is that they also developed very strong relationship with the North Africa and the people who, for example, in Nigeria, they also developed very strong relationship with with nations such as Kenya and in South Africa, Madagascar. Uh, they they basically wanted to make sure that their supply lines are well established. At that time, we were not too worried about this because number one, China was our ally against the Soviet Union, and other was that we were also uh, we were also considered as our we were considering we were worried about Soviet Union and the influence of Russia. So we kind of helped China, didn't mind China becoming a larger player in the world affairs. But we kept prepping India, and we wanted to take India to a level where it can actually curtail China. Uh, However, since our instrument of policies include not only defense but economic policies. For example, the countries we don't like, we put sanctions on them. Like we'll put a sanction on Iran, we'll put sanctions on Iraq, on Syria, on Pakistan, on North Korea. So we kept sanctioning these countries. So these countries, what they did was to find the alternatives. They kept going to other players in the world market, and China received them well. And that way, their dependence on American money or American influence lessened. So our leverage with them has become less effective now than before. And that is giving a huge leverage to China, because China has been working on building roads, dams, hospitals, infrastructure in these countries, because they were envisioning themselves as a major player in the area, and they wanted to make sure that their that these countries becomes part of that economic corridor. They cannot think of themselves without Chinese development or Chinese influence. So these are the realities that that Biden has Biden administration has inherited, and they have a lot to do with it, because there was 8 years of Biden and Obama administration, 4 years of Trump administration, and before that, 8 years of uh, President Bush's administration. So there was consistent uh, uh, policies of United States that has led to this time. Now, the uh, so United States in South Asia and China is now developing a very strategic, strong relationship with India to counter China, and the Philippines to counter China, South Korea to counter China, and Japan to counter China. So China is getting into this mode of being feeling curtailed, being contained, or being caged. So they are reaching out to countries such as who have their relationships strained by economic sanctions placed on them by America, like Russia. These countries, specifically Pakistan, Afghanistan, and Iran, because if they have access to these countries, and they have access to all the oil in the world, and their progress is unchallenged. So American policy right now is to slow down that contact, to slow down Chinese spread in this area, and this is where the situation is. So Biden policies needs a new invention. As you must have heard, that America has moved its troops from Afghanistan, and we are right now. So the Taliban's have reached Kabul. and the government that we supported in Afghanistan is near collapse or is collapsing, and it will not be able to sustain itself. It's the same situation as we had in Vietnam many, many years ago. And we were in a war which was not well thought out and which was not well planned. And those tactics that we utilized in 1960s and 70s and 80s, they are outdated. We have to come up with a new strategy, because in this region right now, China has far more credibility than United States of America. The reputation of the United States of America is they come, they fight, they tangle everybody into their war, and then they suddenly leave overnight, and everybody's left to clean up the stuff, clean up after them. And that has actually made many of our very strong allied countries very, very skeptical of our presence. So, and this region is very strong, very important, because this is, if we look at this region alone right here, we are talking about more than 1/3 of the population of the world. And if you throw China in there, we're talking about 2/3 of the population of the world and the resources that comes from here. So, and what I will do is now I will wait for any questions. Please go ahead if you have any questions for me.
All right, thanks, Faizan. We have a couple that came through here. The first one that I have is, what is the payment arrangement for the oil?
Okay. So, so the payment arrangement of the oil from China is that China exports a lot of things to here. As you know, it is a manufacturing hub of the world. Standardization and accuracy of manufacturing is China's strength. So China's strength is not innovation. China's strength is doing things as is. So they are very systematic. They are very methodical. They are very accurate in their ways of doing. They are, so innovation is something that which Americans are good at. But once they do the innovation, then they throw it towards the places where they can do it, use the economy of the scale, scales to their advantage. And China, this is what China is good at. So the whole world has depended on China to provide this strategic supply line. And so many of these payments are, of course, these payments are used to be in dollars, but now China has started dealing in its own currency, which is a huge matter for us, because that means that we are becoming less relevant to that economic region of the world, which is the most growing region of the world. And then America and China also have the leverage of using as its exports as bartering tools for the against the payments of that. And when America was using this area, if you can see that, America's major exports has been defense-related exports. Like, for example, you must have heard this great deal that President Trump spoke about with Saudi Arabia, $250 billion. And so this is how these payments were taking place. That related to credit that each other country has against each other, cash payments, and of course the leverage of the exports.
Aha, thank you for explaining that for us. Somebody would like to see, can you talk about the U.S. pulling out of Afghanistan?
Oh, that's my favorite subject. Thank you so much for asking this question. Okay. So this is Afghanistan right here. And interestingly, historically, Afghanistan is known as the cap of Asia. Anybody who wears Afghanistan's cap controls whole Asia. So it's a very old dreams of a lot of conquerors, including our dear conqueror of the Europe, which we are known as Alexander the Great. And fortunately or unfortunately, the people of Afghanistan are fiercely independent. I mean, fiercely independent. They don't like to be dictated to, and they don't like invaders. So when Genghis Khan came from this area and came to Afghanistan, he could not have a one good night's sleep in Afghanistan. And then his most severe resistance came from this area on the border of Pakistan and Afghanistan, which you must have heard of South Waziristan and North Waziristan, where most of the resistance were given to Allied forces and American forces. And before that, in late 1800s, to the British invaders. And before that, the Mughals who came. So Genghis Khan was so uh, discouraged that he had to turn to the softer belly of Middle East because he did not want the rhythm of his invasion or the momentum that he's built to be killed in Afghanistan. So he just passed through. He did not reside in Afghanistan for too long, knowing the people of Afghanistan. But there are two major powers in the world that recently have tried to stay in Afghanistan: Soviet Union. And knowing Soviet Union, we helped through Pakistan. We built training camps here. We built a lot of, we poured a lot of money through CIA in Islamic madrasas and all that, and prepared the people in Mujahideens to go in Afghanistan and fight the Soviet Union. Everybody knows the story. And if you want to know the story even more, I would highly recommend everybody to watch this movie called Charlie Wilson's War. Uh, so go on Netflix or Prime Video, watch tonight Charlie Wilson's War. It's very, very accurate. I had the honor and the opportunity of meeting myself with Charlie Wilson, and I think Tom Hanks has done a great job of portraying him. So I will recommend. It tells you the story of Afghanistan. So anyway, and during this time, and again, when this mission was accomplished in 1989, 1990, Americans packed up their bags. They said, okay, you deal with it, we are leaving. And at that time, Pakistan was left with 4.5 million refugees, Afghan refugees, a lot of violence, terrorism. Iran had a lot of the same problems, 1 or 2 million, and these countries are not well-to-do countries. So they have never forgotten that lesson. So when 2001, when the 9/11 happened, and Americans came back to this region, at that time they promised, okay, this time we are here and we're not going to go away. We're going to help you. And these people said, okay. Pakistan gave bases to American Air Force, and they went in, they took care of the Taliban government. In return, the Taliban acted against Pakistan, other countries. So around 70,000 Pakistanis lost their lives in war against terror. In Afghanistan, the numbers runs in hundreds of thousands of dollars. And what happened was that not giving credit to the local uh, movements. So Americans, they relied on people who, well, didn't have good roots into Afghan culture. So the government they brought in, as you know, that never really went beyond Kabul. So they are in big cities, it remained, but most of the rural area of Afghanistan remained under the control of, if not Taliban's directly, then people who had sympathizers of Taliban's. So for them, now again, Americans, they have packed up their bags, they have left, and all these people who were there, now they are left to deal with it. So, and this time, this region has determined that we will not rely on Americans to side with, and I don't know what's going to happen in the future, but this is the challenge because America can no longer afford to continue a war in Afghanistan, which is very expensive. Number one. Number two, it has taken a lot of death toll on American and allied forces. And number three is that we have not been able to earn the hearts and minds of the people in Afghanistan because we constantly are relying on people in Afghanistan who are either corrupt, they were actually ex warlords who have committed a lot of war crimes, and they themselves does not have good standing in their own people. And number three, it did not deal with the majority of the Afghanis who are Pashtuns, from where we get the Taliban movement. So Taliban movement is not all bad, in the sense that Talib means student. So there's a movement of the students. These are movements who were students of the religious schools who we trained them against the Soviets, and then we left. Then we came back, then we beat them up. So but now the way they are moving now is very interestingly, very strategic compared to their earlier movements in late 90s and early 200s. 2000. So they are now strategically moving. They are letting people do their business. They have built alliance with China, with Russia, with other powers in the area. And they even don't want America to get too. They don't want America to get too upset either. But their problem is the American-backed leaders who were there and who have committed a lot of crimes against them, as far as they're concerned. And Taliban are no angels either. They have done horrific things to Afghan people. So it is an internal conflict that needs resolution. But right now, as we speak in Afghanistan, Taliban has a majority control, and they have entered Kabul. I don't know if Kabul is going to fall, but I hope there's some sort of a political settlement reached, so the peace can be preserved in the area. Go ahead.
Faizan, thank you so much for explaining that to us. Wow. Let's see. This next question is, are there any concerns about renewable energy impacting the current oil dependence?
Thank you for asking that question. Okay. So again, this is very interesting that, one thing is that I think that the American policy makers have to literally wake up to the new realities. These countries, when I speak of Taliban's, I speak of the people from Pakistan or Iran or any of this area. If you close your eyes and imagine, you will be probably thinking these people are, traveling on horses, they have swords in their hands, and they are these rough people who don't know how the world is run. It is exactly the opposite. These people have cell phones, smartphones. They know how to use social media. They understand there is a economic devastation. They understand infrastructure has to be built. They are very savvy politically. They are very internationally, intelligent. And they have the exposure because of the internet. So for us to assume that they're stupid or they don't know and we are too clever because we have technology and because we speak English, that's not going to cut it, because everybody has their own language. And our competitors in the world right now, China and Russia, they have figured that out. So what they are doing is they're saying, okay, what do you need? We'll give you what you need. You need schools, you need roads, you need dams. We will come and work with you. And now, for example, because of that, China, I know in Pakistan is one of the country that has kind of stepped back scaled back its intensity of its relationship with America, because they are going through growing trees and building dams and focusing on infrastructure. In Afghanistan, America has invested a lot of money in that, but money went through wrong hands. A lot of corruption, a lot of people who had the money, they actually took the money from Afghanistan and took it to Dubai and United Arab Emirates and then to Europe for investment. So they didn't spend money locally. So these people are working on that. For example, solar energy is becoming more common in this area. And then windmill energy is becoming common. People are investing in that area to do it better. But as you know, even if we use the oil energy from the oil, it has to be used in smart way. And that way, at this time, I don't think that right now China seems to be far more committed to the environmental sensitivities than other countries, because it took a role when America kind of, left that vacuum in last 4 or 5 years. So it stepped in. But a lot of these countries are becoming very, very conscious of that, and they are taking steps. But because they are growing economy, their needs are a lot. It will be a while. So at this time, the devastation that comes with the um, with the growing economies because of the emission and all that, the environmental challenges are there, although these people are aware of it.
Okay, great. Thanks, Faizan.
Thank you.
I've just seen one more question here, and it's, please talk about U.S. relations with Turkey.
Thank you. Okay, let's go to Turkey. Turkey is right here. So Turkey is a very interesting country. It is Turkey is a, by the way, beautiful country. If you ever want to go visit there, it is a you can have a great vacation, and which can be very, very economical. And if you go to Istanbul, it's on the boundary of Europe and Asia. Half of the city is this way, and half the city is that way. So Turkey is a country that that is a part of NATO. It has recently had distant from United States, and it played a very important role in our struggle in Syria. So here's Turkey, here's Syria, and Syria has been going through a civil war. This is Iraq, and this area, Syria, Iraq, and Iran, this area over here is area of the Kurds, Kurdistan. Kurds are the people who are divided in 1, 2, 3, 4 countries, and that Kurd separatists are a challenge for Iraq, for Syria, and for Turkey and Iran. So many times we have asked these Kurds to come and help us when we were fighting the war against Saddam Hussein in Iraq. And lately, when we were fighting in Syria and ISIS in Iraq, they helped us, and we told them every time, we are with you, and then we left them. And so there's also a credibility issue over there, because we would promise them a homeland on semi-autonomous area, so they can do with autonomy, so they can do their things. But that was not successful. So Turkey doesn't like United States helping Kurds because they think they might claim the area, because 20% of population of Turkey is Kurd. Then Turkey does not like also that doesn't have a good relationship with Russia, but recently they have switched that. So they think that for Turkey, Russia might be a better partner for the future, because they can leverage that relationship with NATO and America. And one of the things is that Turkish treatment by the Europeans. So Turkish tried very hard to be part of the European Union, but no matter what they did, Europe did not accept them in the European Union, because good part of Turkey is in Europe. And with that, then Turkey, what has done is it has went towards the East for its cultural identity, Muslim identity, and all that. There's a movement within Turkey, and that movement, which was in 1990s, became very successful, and Tayyip Erdogan became the leader, and now he runs. He's the head of the state of Turkey, but he has been there for many years, and it has given him a time to consolidate Turkey and give it more of a conservative Islamic identity. And he's a populist, and so he's very popular among Turkish people, and that has created a challenge for Turkey, because on one end the Eastern identity pulls it, and on the other hand, the Western influence and the Western relationship over a period of time is pulling Turkey the other way. So these two struggles are very alive in Turkish culture, Turkish politics, and Turkish planning. Now, Turkey has reluctantly agreed that Turkey will provide assistance to United States in Afghanistan, and it has very reluctantly has also agreed to provide bases or assistance to the U.S. supporting uh, militias or elements in Afghanistan through because it has a lot of influence in Central Asia. However, Turkish remain at a distance from United States because it is not considered as close of an ally as it used to be because Turkish they bought USSR's missile system, defense missile system, which America was not too happy about. And so America needs to win Turkey back into its fold to be able to have an effective ally because right now, if you really look now, so Turkey, and above Turkey, this is all Eastern Europe, which is under the influence of Russia. Syria is under the influence of Russia, and Iran. Iraq is under the influence of Iran. So American presence in Middle East is weakening. So that's why it needs Turkey on its side.
That makes a lot of sense. Thank you, Faizan.
Thank you.
We had a question. What is one piece of advice you'd give to improve our international relations?
If President Biden would listen to me, and that is, we have to change our behavior than what it used to be. We have to have a departure. Okay, so I'm going to be very, very straightforward on this. So I'm going to let the diplomacy go. Okay, so American policy has been so far, because we are a superpower, we have certain needs. We all like our roads and we like our big SUVs. We like our lifestyle. I want to fly to Hawaii if I want to, and so on and so forth. So when you're a superpower, you have to have a certain power structure feeding you power. So what American style has been that we had once in a while would take a small country, throw it against the wall, and tell everybody, listen, you behave or else. And everybody says, okay, whatever you do, whatever you say. And then we say, we want this, we want this, we want that. And then that way we have promoted many, many dictators in the world because we like one, we want, one window shopping. We drive through, we go to McDonald's, we say, I want French fries and a Big Mac, and then person takes the money from the window, one window service, and we leave. We don't know what goes on, what McDonald's is doing inside. We are interested in that window and the service. And this is the approach that we have taken to Middle East. We were dealing with one or two dictators in each country, and we didn't care what they did in their country. So now we need to go into with the people, because people have become more aware. They don't like these people who have done atrocities against them. So America has to go into these countries humbly and win the people's hearts and minds, which China has. It's not the Chinese do the same thing. They have a lot of dictators around which they support, but they are building roads, they're building railroad, they're providing jobs, they are actually building ties into their economy. And that is what America needs to do if we want to stay one step ahead. Because two things we have a great advantage that we should use our leverage with. One is, believe it or not, American culture is the best weapon that we have, because people in the world want to be like Americans, they want to dress up like Americans, they want to speak Americans, they want to eat American. So we have a great cultural following in the world. Even in China, people are wearing, Levi jeans and Gap t-shirts. So we have a great cultural weapon that we got to use to our advantage. And that is what China is never going to have, that Russia never going to have. They cannot take it away. And so that is something that we have to use to our advantage. And number two is our monetary system. So the system that was built after 1945, in the post World War II, it actually benefited the West. The system was built that no matter what happens in the rest of the world, something comes back to the Western world. Now that system is being undermined. So we have to preserve that system somehow. If we focus on these two things, we will be able to deal with China and Soviet Union and no matter what. And the going into a conflict zone with China is a great mistake. As United States of America, historically, we are a nation of traders, we are entrepreneurs and explorers. We, as long as economically we benefit from the progress and advancement of the countries, and our policies remain intact in that way, we need not worry and we should avoid unnecessary conflict. So that's what my advice will be. Avoid unnecessary conflicts, work with people, and use American culture as a leverage.
Aha, thank you for sharing that with us, Faizan. Now I'm just seeing, I'm always so impressed with your knowledge. Thank you so much for the presentation. So Faizan, thank you.
Thank you, and I hope I was able to satisfy our audience. Thank you so much, guys, for listening to me. Because in summer, you're giving me an opportunity to lecture somebody, and teachers have the addiction of giving lectures. So thank you so much. Thank you,
You're welcome.
thank you
All
so much.
right,
I'm so honored. Thank
bye.
you. Take care.